The rain poured relentlessly over the city that night, painting the streets with reflections of flickering lights. People hurried under umbrellas, cars splashed through puddles, and inside a warm, elegant restaurant that smelled of jasmine tea and freshly baked bread, a man in a tailored black suit sat alone by the window. His name was Adrian Cole, a young CEO known for his brilliance, wealth, and cold demeanor. But tonight, for reasons he didn't even understand, there was a nervous tremor in his heart. It was supposed to be just a blind date, a favor to his sister who believed he needed to meet someone genuine. He had smiled politely, never expecting anything meaningful to come out of it. Yet as he checked his watch again, something told him this night would be different. And then she walked in. At first, no one even noticed her. A frail-looking woman, drenched from the rain, her clothes torn and faded, her hair clinging to her face. The hostess frowned slightly, unsure if she had come to the wrong place. People turned their heads away in quiet judgment, but she stood still near the door, holding an old handbag close to her chest, her eyes scanning the room with a mixture of fear and determination. When her gaze met Adrian's, he froze. He didn't see the ragged clothes. He saw pain, deep, raw, unhidden pain, and something far rarer, quiet dignity. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and the power of second chances, then please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Silent Hope. Because sometimes, all it takes is one act of empathy to change two lives forever. The hostess reluctantly led the woman toward his table, whispering softly, "Sir, she says she's here to meet you." Adrian stood, confused but composed, as she sat opposite him, visibly trembling. Her name was Elena. She didn't apologize for her appearance, though her eyes betrayed embarrassment. She simply said she'd come as she was, no pretense, no lies. Adrian didn't know how to react. The restaurant's soft piano music felt distant now, the air heavy with curiosity as whispers spread from table to table. But he didn't care. There was something about her presence that silenced the noise inside his head. As she spoke, he learned she wasn't homeless, but her life had recently fallen apart. A former art student, Elena once dreamed of painting the world with color, but fate had stolen her brush. Her father had passed away suddenly, leaving behind debt and despair. She worked multiple jobs to survive, sacrificing her dreams for survival. That evening, she had almost canceled the date, feeling she had no right to sit across from someone like him. But something inside her, a flicker of hope she thought she'd lost, pushed her to come anyway. Adrian listened, really listened. It was the first time in years someone's story broke through his emotional armor. As she spoke of struggle and faith, he saw pieces of himself reflected in her eyes. Beneath his wealth, Adrian had lived a lonely, mechanical life. His parents gone, his relationships shallow, his success built on a foundation of emptiness. And here she was, someone with nothing, yet carrying herself with quiet grace that no money could buy. The rain outside turned into a storm, thunder rolling across the sky, but inside the restaurant, it felt like time stood still. Elena sipped the cheapest tea on the menu, apologizing when her trembling hand spilled a drop on the tablecloth. Adrian gently reached across with his napkin, wiping it without a word. Her eyes widened slightly at the kindness. Nobody had done that for her in a long time. As the night deepened, something began to shift. Adrian found himself laughing softly, something he hadn't done in months. He asked her about her paintings, and for the first time that evening, she smiled. It wasn't a confident or practiced smile. It was small, fragile, but radiant. She spoke of colors, dreams, and memories of her father, who always told her that kindness was the truest form of art. That line stayed with Adrian long after they parted ways that night. Elena left quietly, without exchanging numbers. She didn't expect to hear from him again. In her mind, men like Adrian lived in another world, one she didn't belong to. But for Adrian, sleep didn't come easily that night. He kept seeing her face, hearing her words. The next morning, he sent his assistant on an impossible task: find the girl from last night. Days passed. The search seemed hopeless, until one afternoon he spotted a small art booth near an old subway entrance. There she was, wearing the same worn-out jacket, painting portraits for strangers to earn a few coins. Her hands were stained with colors, her smile faint, but peaceful. Adrian watched from a distance, something swelling in his chest. Admiration, protectiveness, love. He approached her quietly. She looked up, startled, as he placed a cup of hot coffee beside her. her eyes filled with disbelief. He wasn't supposed to be here. CEOs didn't walk down subway alleys, but he simply said that he wanted to see her again. She tried to refuse, but his sincerity broke through her hesitation. Over the next few weeks, their worlds intertwined in ways neither expected. Adrian would often visit her art stall, bringing her lunch or sitting silently as she painted. People began to whisper, a rich man and a struggling artist, what could they possibly have in common? But those moments were the truest ones in both their lives. She taught him simplicity, gratitude, and the beauty in imperfection. He taught her that not all powerful men were heartless, yet the world doesn't always welcome unlikely love. The media soon caught wind of their connection. Headlines painted Elena as a gold digger who had trapped a CEO. Paparazzi followed her everywhere, mocking her clothes and questioning her intentions. She felt humiliated and broken. One night, she disappeared, leaving only a small note. Thank you for seeing the real me, but you belong to a world that doesn't accept someone like me. Adrian was shattered. The mansion that once felt grand now echoed with silence. He realized that for the first time in his life, he didn't want luxury. He wanted her laughter, her stubborn hope, her warmth. He searched tirelessly for weeks, but she had vanished into the crowd of the city she called home. Months passed, the seasons changed. Adrian buried himself in work, but the emptiness grew. Then one day, during a charity art exhibition his company sponsored, he noticed a familiar style on a painting displayed near the back. It was a portrait of a man in a black suit sitting by a rain-soaked window, staring at someone unseen. The artist's name at the bottom, Elena Grace. His heart raced. He found her standing in a corner, wearing a simple white dress with paint on her fingers. She had changed, stronger, calmer, but her eyes still carried the same light. When she saw him, she froze, tears threatening to spill. He walked up slowly, not saying a word, and placed a small keychain in her hand, a tiny paintbrush made of silver. For the artist who taught me how to see color again, he whispered softly. The hall around them faded, and for that moment, it was just them, two souls who had seen the worst of the world, yet somehow found light in each other. Elena had finally begun selling her art, building her life again. Adrian didn't try to rescue her this time. He simply stood beside her as a partner, not a savior. And the world eventually stopped mocking and started admiring, not because of his wealth, but because of their quiet strength together. Months later, on a bright spring morning, the same restaurant where they first met was filled with flowers and soft music. The waitress smiled as she recognized the couple. This time, Elena wore a simple lavender gown, radiant and confident. Adrian looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Their journey had been painful, messy, and beautiful. A story not of perfection, but redemption. Before I end this story, if it touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that love sees beyond appearances and status, then please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Silent Hope, because somewhere, someone needs to be reminded that kindness still wins. And here's a special request. Before you go, tell us in the comments, would you still give someone a chance if the world told you they weren't good enough? Elena and Adrian's love became more than a fairy tale. It became proof that true connection doesn't begin with beauty, wealth, or power. It begins with empathy. The man who had everything found meaning in the woman who had nothing, and the woman who had lost everything found strength in being truly seen. Together, they built a life painted not with perfection, but with forgiveness, patience, and love. Sometimes, the universe brings two broken souls together not to complete each other, but to heal each other. And in that healing, they discover that love, real love, doesn't care about what you wear, where you come from, or what you've lost. It only cares that you show up with your heart open. Because the greatest miracles often begin the moment you stop hiding who you are, and someone somewhere finally sees you for it.